Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third episode of Culture Beyond COVID. Today, we will be looking at Horizon Europe, the EU's funding program for research and innovation, which is currently known as Horizon 2020. It is one out of several EU funding programs that is meant to be coherent with Creative Europe and therefore also offers different opportunities for the cultural and creative sector. But before we dive into this rather complex program, I would like to spread some very good news. And that is referring to our last session about Creative Europe, because the European Parliament and the other European institutions last week agreed on the new multi-annual financial framework, and this came along with a significant increase for Creative Europe's budget by 600 million euros, which is almost one third, given that the original budget was meant to be 1.64 billion euros. So, in general, Creative Europe will then have 2.2 billion euros for the upcoming 7 years, and we are very excited to see how this will be spread over the entire program. So this is good news to start with, but now let's have a look at Horizon Europe and its opportunities for you and your cultural projects. So here you can see an overview of Horizon Europe for the next 7 years. The overall budget is 84.9 billion euros. And in last week's negotiations, it has also received an additional 4 billion euros, which is already included here. The program has three different pillars called Excellent Science, Global Challenges and Industrial Competitiveness, and Innovative Europe. So even though you don't see culture on the first side, culture is actually hidden in these three pillars, and we will have a look at it now and see into more detail what this program offers for the cultural and creative sector. So let's have a look at the structure, which, to be honest, looks a little bit complex on the first sight. So this three-pillar structure was already mentioned before, and that is actually not new. However, what is new is that the second pillar about global challenges and industrial competitiveness has an own cluster which is mainly dedicated to culture, creativity, and inclusive society. And this has not been part of the program before. So there's this explicit mention of culture, but also culture and creativity are hidden under cluster 4 called digital industry and space. And furthermore, there is also something in it in pillar 3 when we have a look at the European Institute of Innovation and Technology. So these will be the three main aspects we will be looking at now in order to show you where you can possibly find funding for your future cultural work. But before we look into these different categories, we also need to clarify the target group of this program and who can actually benefit from its funding. So here we have a look at the different target groups, and as you can see, it is actually quite diverse. As a program for research and innovation, it obviously addresses academia and research institutions, but it also encompasses national, regional, and local authorities and organizations from the civil society, for example, cultural and creative organizations, but also addresses enterprises and companies and citizens. So this shows that the program is actually quite open in terms of organizations that are eligible. But now let's move on to the different opportunities it includes for the cultural and creative sector. And so let's start right away with the so-called cluster 2. So what you can see here is cluster 2 called Culture, Creativity and Cultural Heritage, which is the new cluster especially dedicated to culture. It has in general three different focuses: democracy and governance, culture, cultural heritage and creativity, and social and economic transformations. And I will now explain all the three of them. Under the first category, Activities shall contribute to expanding civic engagement, to boost transparency, and to foster inclusiveness and to underline the legitimacy of governance. And moreover, activities under this field shall improve the levels of trust and also tackle political extremism. Under the second category, mainly dedicated to culture, there is a very strong focus on cultural heritage. So, on the one side, activities that are funded here shall promote to better access and engagement with cultural heritage and also improve its protection, its enhancement, and its restoration. And furthermore, also explore and develop methods to curate and access heritage via digital means. Furthermore, under this field, projects shall enhance the innovation potential of the cultural and creative industries in general, mainly to help them drive sustainable growth and job creation. And a third aspect that is also important here is the contribution to strengthen the sense of belonging based on the common roots and values of our diversity in Europe, which also builds a bridge to cultural heritage. The third aspect mentioned here, social and economic transformations, has a more economic focus, and research here shall support sustainable growth and job creation through contributing to a European industrial policy for the cultural and creative sector. So, projects and actions that belong under this category shall tackle social, economic, and political inequalities, support human capital, and contribute to a comprehensive European strategy for inclusive growth. Actions here shall also improve the understanding and the responding to the impacts of our technological developments and our economic interconnectedness in order to increase our social resilience. And to mention the last aspect tackled here, it shall also support the EU migration and mobility policies, where cultural projects can also contribute to promoting and facilitating social integration. So, as I mentioned, this is the cluster that explicitly addresses the cultural and creative sector. However, there's also cluster 4 that implicitly addresses cultural and creative organizations, and we will also shed light on the opportunities here. So, let's go and see what we can find here. The cluster is called Digital Industry and Space. In total, it consists of 11 key areas. However, the cultural and creative sector is only addressed in 2 priorities, which you can see here. So, what is hidden behind advanced materials and emerging technologies? Under the first category, called advanced materials, creative professionals such as curators, restorers, or designers are supposed to contribute to product design and development and to react to the growing consumer demand for innovative products in order to also answer to the need of protecting the artifacts of cultural heritage. So, under the category of emerging technologies, interaction of creative people from very different backgrounds, including civil society, shall contribute to creating new ideas in the field of engineering, manufacturing, computer learning, and design. So here, activities shall finance the collaborative research and innovation projects and provide the possibility for creative people to build and foster their networks, and also deriving from that to develop new, inspiring, and innovative ideas. So these are the different aspects that mention cultural and creative sector and offer presumably opportunities for cultural and creative organizations to get some funding in the next 7 years. But as I mentioned before, there is another aspect, which is the so-called knowledge and innovation community, or also called the KIC. So let's see what this has to offer. The KIC, or the Knowledge and Innovation Community, is based at the European Institute of Innovation and Technology in Budapest, which has also been part of the current program Horizon 2020. So, what is actually meant by a KIC? A KIC is a kind of partnership of education, research, and innovation. So it includes different kinds of organizations. And in this partnership of research and innovation, a strategic development shall be facilitated. And these KICs usually have a certain thematic focus. And now, for the first time, there is a new focus on the cultural and creative industries, and this kick is supposed to start in 2020. So, especially during the ongoing pandemic, it has been evident that there are a lot of structural problems in the cultural and creative sector, and the partner consortium working on this kick is supposed to tackle these and to come up with new frameworks and new strategic ideas to improve the conditions of the cultural and creative sector and to strengthen its position in the world and also increase its resilience. The outcome, of course, is yet to be known, but we will see how there will be first results in 2023 or 2024. That has been Horizon Europe in a nutshell. I know the information provided here is still very vague, and of course it's not finalized yet. However, I hope it already gives you some clues on what you can expect from the next program for research and innovation, and where you as a cultural and creative organization might find suitable funding for your work. So, what are the next steps to happen? First of all, of course, the budget for the next 7 years has to be finalized, and after that, the program Horizon Europe has to be finalized as well and adopted so that it can start at the beginning of 2021. And then there will probably follow first calls for proposals. So we still need some patience until then, but maybe you can already think about your new projects and ideas. Or you can also watch our next session where we will meet Darius Darek, who will explain what he means by creating a new artistic language. So I hope you could make some use of today's session, and I hope to see you soon sometime again. Bye bye.